Hi, Billy the Artist here, and I'm here with part 3 of the basics, using a grid to do your drawings. And I'm going to do Olaf in a moment, but here you can see I've got another video of how to draw a racing car, and I show how using a grid, and then you see the full racing car as well from start to finish from blank paper that I did without using a grid. But this is showing how to use the technique which will put you in the luminary hallowed halls of people like Constable, who did drawings, as you will see, small drawings, and then put them up onto full canvases as well. So this technique is something that you can use to draw everything from cartoons right the way through to complex racing cars or any kind of scene you want. You can grid an image, a photograph up, and you can then transfer it by scaling the image appropriately. So like I say, here you see this is the grid that I used in the car, how to draw a racing car, Rob Austin's Audi, and there's the actual drawing that I did. And if you click on the links, you can actually see these drawings, this drawing and this from start to finish. So please do click on the link and do subscribe to my channel, and you'll see more how to draw and more art as it actually comes through. But anyway, here we've got an A4 piece of paper, and we're going to do a cartoon, because when I first started to draw, I started copying cartoons. So we're going to use Olaf because he's quite a cute little critter and he's quite funky and fun, and he will fit on here quite nicely. Now again, I've done these lines quite dark. Normally you can draw your lines on when you size your paper up quite nicely, but very, very softly. Use something like a 2H pencil or a 4H. So you start off with your centre line, and this is an A4 piece of paper, so the centre line would be 105mm, and this is how you would grid up and just divide it. I've done 35mm squares on here. So as I say, I'll just draw this line on this side very quickly, and you can see from there that you can hardly see the line. So if you draw light pencil lines on, and then when you actually do your full drawing of Olaf or whoever, and again just use a screenshot of Olaf with the grid lines on and do your own grid, then you can have fun actually putting it together. But I've put these on very dark, and I've put A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. And you can see it's not perfectly square at the bottom, but the grids are there as a guide to help you, so that you can then do your drawing and do your painting, but it helps you to actually put it down, and you put down a dot to dot. So here we'll just start, and you can start anywhere with a grid. So if you look at the drawing of the picture of Olaf, you can start by just putting little marks on. So this is on the centre line down C, so you've got the side of his head, and the top of his head will come there, and going over the brow of his head goes down there, and just over the D line it'll touch down there, and it comes down about 3/4 of the way where it will go off, and you can put another side for his cheek. His carrot nose is all over in C between 2 and 3, so you know that his carrot nose and his eyes all fit in there. Now my video how to draw by using shapes, the basics, you know, draw circles and squares. So you can see just within there I've got Olaf's eyes, which are just circle shapes that are coming in, and his nose is really a cone, so the point's at the end, and we'll put more darker detail on later. But like I say, this is just to get the outline down quite quickly, but I'll focus on that in a little bit for you. But we're just going to do this really quick. So there's a point, and there's a point down the side of his head, and it's kind of coming all the way down. So Olaf coming down below 4 and onto 5, and you can just do these kind of little dot to dots, and it helps you to put everything over. So the inside of his mouth, the dot will kind of come there, and then there'll be a dot for his body, the top part, his chest part of his body coming down, and that'll cross that line there, and it comes in, and you're going to have a diagonal line going over there. So if I draw that quite darkly, you can see that Olaf, who loves his warm hugs, using dot to dot and this grid system, there's another mark there, his foot starts to go through the E line, and it's about there at the bottom. You can just start putting little points on, and all of a sudden you start to create a big dot to dot image that you can then go around as you draw, and his foot comes down underneath the centre C line, and it touches there, and it touches there, and it'll touch there. So all around I've now got these little marks. His little coal chest button is just to the left of the C line, and again there's just little shapes that you can do and utilise. Again, that line, don't be afraid if you make mistakes, because you can always grab your trusty eraser. That's a little bit low, that centre line is going through his chest to like his tummy bit, so you can increase that and make that a little bit higher. So you can see how easy it is. By using this grid you can check how good and how close you are. Whereas if you look at the part 1, how to draw with shapes, you just use a blank piece of paper with no grid at all. When you're drawing shapes you do them really, really quickly, and by doing that you are just freestyling on the paper and drawing fast, and you might make mistakes, but you use the shapes then as your reference point. So you put a big shape down for, like, say, Olaf's head, you then put a big shape down for his chest, and then another large shape for his body, and that's really good. Again, his stick arms are going to come up through this line here, and his little middle finger goes through the number 3 line, so we can draw that down. You've got his thumb, and we'll flesh this out in a little bit. And his other arm comes out from the side here through the D line and goes up above, and he's going to have his little thumb and his fingers stretching out. So here all around I've now got these dots, and very, very quickly we can then start connecting the dots using the shapes, and you'll see Olaf come together rather quickly. So from the side of his carrot nose, we do it over the top of his cheek, and I'll draw this quite dark so that you can see it. Then you come down through the dot that you made next to the B line, and that comes down all the way. Again, if you do nice light lines, and then you can do a dark line over the top, or you can use felt pen or something like that to make a really dark line and then colour it in if you want to use felt tips or crayons. That's absolutely lovely. But here we've got his mouth coming down and around. We do the outside of his cheek, kind of coming down, and we know that we're going to go to there. And then you've got the inside of his mouth, because he's quite a happy, jolly chap, isn't he? And then you've got the inside of his mouth, and a little shadow underneath. Again, you can erase out that. But again, remember, I've done these lines very dark so you can see, just as a tutorial, but you can do it much lighter. Here we've got the top of his lip coming round, and his big snowy front tooth, which is all part of his big smile and his lovely character. And so if we draw a circle now for his nose, and then just some little circle lines, and then a circle for his eye behind, slap bang in the middle you've got another big circle, and then another circle where his highlight will be and his eye. Remember, always leave a nice little highlight, or if you do obscure it, you can always use a little bit of paint, and that'll help it to stand out, and it makes your eyes really lift out, a highlight does, which is great. So his other eye comes down the side, and I'm using a 2B pencil to do all of this, as I explained earlier in other videos, in the other basics ones, part 1 and part 2, using shapes that you can use. When I do shading in part 2, I use the different grades from 2B right the way through to 8B for real darks. But 2B is a really nice general pencil, HB is quite nice and you can do a fair amount with it. So there is his like black eyebrow over the top, and then he's got another elliptical type curve which you can do a little bit greyer, and all of a sudden you can see Olaf's head and his face. He's like, yay! So that's really good. Just by using these dot to dots, you get the feeling of the shapes very, very quickly. I say this is all real time, no time lapse. You get his eyebrow up at the top, coming down, and that stays inside that square, and you can just shade that a little bit as you fill that in, and you can put his other eyebrow in, and so very, very quickly you can see how simple it is to get Olaf looking very, very good. So again, the centre stick going up, again, just grab a screenshot of this gridded up picture of Olaf, or press pause, and you can use this as your reference. You know, grid your own bit of paper up and you can do your own Olaf drawing and practice, and then you can go off and do anything, whatever character you want to do. It could be Mickey Mouse, it could be anything. I mean, I started back in the 1970s. Some of my early drawings I can remember were from Star Wars, drawing R2-D2. He's great because he's a little cylinder. So again, using the shapes, if you learn to draw cylinders and practice doing them, and all of a sudden you can actually put together a really good quick R2-D2. But again, just using this grid system, you can grid any photograph up. You know, you can do your pets, you can do your family, you can do your friends. So we're doing round his chest, and the connection from his chest ball down to the bottom one. And I'm just following now these lines. I'm not even looking at my reference picture because I've done the dot to dots. You remember the dot to dot little sketchbooks that you used to get, and you followed and you went round, went to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you drew round that line, and all of a sudden the characters appeared that you were actually drawing. His chin's a little bit low there, so if I just raise that up a little bit, then I can put his coal down, and you can see how quickly, I'll shade that in very, very quick for you. You can see very quickly how Olaf, you can draw him in minutes, and then you can experiment with paint or pencil crayon or Crayola coloured crayons, colouring in, doing your shading. So, or you can just do pencil shading, which is absolutely lovely. But again, I'll get this down really quick because we're nearly there. There's his other little black button. Here's his foot on the outside. Again, just following the lines that I've made. And draw quick lines. Remember, use your arm. Just draw some really nice quick lines. There's his thumb. Just draw up on there. You know, nice little blobbly finger, his little stick fingers. Alright, isn't it great? You can take your arm off and you can reach something a little bit further. Especially if you've got Olaf's arms. We don't have that really, so... But Olaf's a little bit unique, isn't he? And then you can just do these wiggly lines for his like stick arms. Just do a nice wiggle. Again, that, use the side of your pencil if you want. And you can shade in that a little bit quicker as you come down. And if you go over the line like I have, remember, just use your eraser as a drawing tool. Just shade in his arm, so that's nice. Make it a little bit thicker. But here, like I say, we've now got his last arm to go. Got a wiggle where his kind of elbow of his stick is. And this is how quick and simple it is by using this grid system to draw anything. I say I've done Olaf here because he's a cute little character at the moment who everybody loves, and that's fantastic. But you can do any cartoon character, you know, if you're old school like me and you like Tom and Jerry as well, you can do that, or any of your favourite cartoon characters, Peppa Pig, Postman Pat, you know, anything that is out there, or any of the new films that are coming out. You know, if you're into Transformers, you can do the robots. Just get the image and you just grid the photo up that you want to do, and you can use this technique and you can be like John Constable, famous British landscape artist, and all of a sudden you've got a full picture. So there we've got Olaf completely done. And again, shading, very, very quick and simple. You can colour this down, and when you're finished, you just use the side of your pencil, very, very quick. If you block it in very, very fast, the direction of the light coming from this way in the photo, you can block all of that in really quick. You know, all of his mouth's going to have to be a bit darker. You know, press on a little bit darker. And this is the beauty of a 2B pencil. You can get quite a lot of tonal range out of it. Shadow off his nose coming down, and if you use the flat side and it gets flatter, you'll see that it starts to fill in the areas a lot faster. There's the underneath of his bottom lip, the shadow that's cast, shadow down this left side of his face, shadow underneath his round eyes. Be careful not to touch where the real highlights are in his pupils and his eyes, and all of a sudden you've got a really nice Olaf. Before you do that, you could also have rubbed out all your guidelines, but again, if you do really, really light guidelines, then it's easier to erase them. But you can rub out all around the outside as well, and you can see how quickly your picture of Olaf has completely come together. He's like, yay, I'm coming for a warm hug. But again, if you want smooth transitions, you can use a cloth or the lovely finger, and you can just smudge that around, and you can push that around, and you can add a little bit of shadow underneath the coal buttons that he's got. And again, push the pencil around using this as a drawing tool, and then you can really smudge his carrot nose in, and you get really nice soft smooth lines. And where you've gone over, again, get your eraser and you can just go right around the outside, and you can clean up the paper very, very quickly, and you've got a very, very, very nice Olaf. If you want a little bit of a highlight, let's just give him a little bit more shadow down this side quickly for you. And that way, when you put a bit of a highlight in with an eraser, and you can use a putty rubber as well. That's my friend, the putty rubber. If you sharpen this, remember, you can squeeze it and squidge it. You know, it's a bit stiffer than Play-Doh or blue tack, but again, you can use that to put your highlights on, and it just gives a little bit more form to Olaf just by being creative with an eraser and a pencil. You get quite a nice, and that solid one there, you can just dab it and stipple it, and there you've got Olaf with all of his shadows and all of his shading in a very, very quick drawing. By using the grid system, you can put anything together. You can draw anything from Olaf right the way through to the complex car that you saw earlier. But do please like the video if you've enjoyed watching this. Tell your friends about it. Please do share and subscribe to my videos to see more how to draw stuff in the future, because it's really fun, and being able to share this and do this is great, and the joy that you can give to people by doing art is absolutely fantastic. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this. Please do subscribe. Check out the how to draw part 1 and part 2, the basics using shapes without the grid system, and the basics about shading with the different grades of pencil. But thank you very, very much. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to hearing what you say and seeing some of your drawings possibly. Ta-da.